Hi everybody! Today I'm making a warm duck salad, and I'm starting off by preheating the oven to 180 degrees Celsius, and then I'm putting my duck in a roasting tray, seasoning it with salt and pepper on the in and outside, and just putting it into the oven and letting it sit there and getting juicy and all of that for 2 hours. About, let's say, an hour in, I'm turning the duck so that it gets crispy on both sides, and I start with having the breast part of the duck being on the down side, just for all the juices to get into the breast section, not having it too dry, while roasting that little birdie. So while the duck is already in the oven, you can actually work preparing the rest and all of that. So the 15 minutes that I'm saying for prep time is actually during the cooking time. So all in all, it's about 2 hours. So once the birdie is in the oven, it's time to prep the veggies. And I'm having these two small pumpkins here that I'm just de-seeding and then cutting into maybe 2 centimeters thick slices and putting them onto a baking sheet or a tray, whatever you have in your oven as well. So if you don't have these small pumpkins, you can take any other squash, a butternut squash, or just a larger Hokkaido pumpkin as well. Anything that is to your liking, just take that specific pumpkin to use in the salad. I actually like the Hokkaidos best because they do have a potato-like texture to them once you roast them in the tray, in the oven. On a tray in the oven. So that's why I took the Hokkaidos. And I'm placing them into the oven at 1 hour 15 into the duck roasting process. Next up, I can prepare the spices for the pumpkin roast as well as the marinade. So for the pumpkin roast, I am adding 2 red chilies, the dried up red chilies that is. Then I'm adding a tablespoon of the ground coriander and half a tablespoon of cinnamon as well as salt and pepper. And then I'm giving it a good whisk, stirring everything up and putting it aside for when I'm placing the pumpkin into the oven. So in this bowl here, I'm prepping the actual dressing that can sit on the counter while the duck and everything roasts, so it does not have to be in the fridge. So I'm just squeezing the lime juice. If you have very good limes that don't have any pesticides and whatnot on them, you can actually also use a bit of zest. Mine were waxed. I couldn't get a hold of organic limes that day, so I'm not taking the zest for the recipe. It actually enhances the dressing if you take the zest, but yeah, I don't want to have the chemicals in my food, you know. So it's fairly simple. Squeeze them, take the juice, and then add the olive oil, and I'm taking a very soft one, a very mild olive oil here. This is not the one that I use when I want to heat things up, and I'm taking double the part of no, actually the same. I'm doubling the amount of liquid, so the same percentage that, or the same amount of milliliters that you had for the lime juice, take that with the olive oil, adding a tablespoon of sesame oil, and just also adding the honey right away. The original non-paleo recipe comes with soy sauce and brown sugar, but I just added a tiny bit of salt here for the soy sauce part. Also a tiny bit of pepper again. So once I have the liquids seasoned, I'm cutting the what are they called? The spring onions. I took more than 5 just because mine were so tiny and I didn't want to have one just left there. I'm also peeling the garlic, crushing it, cutting it. The same with the chili, de-seeding everything and then cutting it up into fine slices. And that gives a nice hum to the marinade. The thing that I also couldn't get a hold of that day was coriander leaves, and for that I took parsley, and it worked fairly nice, so it was just lovely. And together with the mint leaves here, I'm just cutting everything up, adding it to the dressing, and then giving it a very good stir, mixing up all the lovely flavors, and then just having it sit on the counter for the rest of the time until the duck and the pumpkins are coming out of the oven, are roasted and so lovely looking and yummy tasting. I have to say, this is one of my favorite warm salads. There will be a few salads coming up for spring and summer season on this channel, but I sometimes crave good salad in winter, but I don't want to have the cold ones. So this is my favorite to go for winter season, which is lucky for us, going over, ending very soon. In maybe a week or two, it's already spring. So the pumpkin is ready to go into the oven and being roasted, and you can see here I'm sprinkling all the lovely spices on top, and it just gives a very warm taste to it and feel to it, and it's just lovely. So this is a different kind of olive oil that I'm using here. That's one that can be heated quite high and still doesn't go bitter. So this is just the cooking olive oil, not the one that I used in the dressing. So once everything's done, I'm just taking out the duck from the oven, and I'm peeling away the meat into bite-sized chunks, just putting it in a big bowl, and working my way around the bird. I found that the 2-fork method works fairly nice. You can easily just scrape away things, but you could also cut things up with knife and fork if you feel more comfortable with that. And I'm very sorry for having my head in the shot all the time, but I had to really look where there was more meat that I could use. So this is what the pumpkin looks like, very brown, very crisp, very, very lovely and soft. And I'm just adding it to the bowl as well. Here's the whole thing, and then I'm adding the dressing, and then I'm mixing up everything before I can plate it. And depending on how huge your portions are, how hungry you are, this is a main dish for 2 people or a side dish for 4 people. So this is already it. I hope you try this recipe, maybe not this winter, but you get around to it next autumn or winter. It's really lovely. You gotta give it a try at one point. And it's, again, fairly simple to make, though it takes a bit of time, but the duck can roast on its own. You don't have to be standing next to the oven. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you feel that everybody or anybody that you know should see this video, share it. And if you haven't already, why not subscribe to the channel? I got lots of art, board game, and cooking videos for you every day of the week. Have a very good one. Goodbye.